So this video is going to be all about grip. We're just going to talk to you about how to hold the club. Obviously, one of the most important things.
Not like this?
No, it is not like that. And you'd be surprised how many people come in there holding the club that way.
I started out with a baseball grip.
Right? Because it just feels comfortable.
Yep.
But we don't want to do that. So the basics of the grip are, when we grip the club, we want our thumbs to be up against our index fingers like this, right? So just like this, okay?
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
One thing that actually hinders my grip is the rings that I'm wearing. Right? So I got a class ring on my right hand and a wedding ring on my left hand, and they're just not allowing me to get the proper grip. So I think step one is, if you got a thicker than normal ring, take the thing off.
Yeah, absolutely. Take the rings off or anything like that, especially if you're going to put a glove on, because you don't want to, you'll rub places on your hand with the ring on. So make sure you get those off. The next step, thumbs against the index fingers there. Now, in your left hand, you're going to put it onto the club on the line of your fingers in your palm there. That runs back towards your hand. So when you grip down on this, it should be underneath the pad in your left hand. By underneath, I do not mean through the lifeline right there. I mean underneath right there. It should be very easy to hinge the club up like this with your left hand. If it's not, if you have it in your palm like this, see, it's not very easy to hinge, which means we don't get leverage. So it needs to be underneath that fat pad in the left hand. You put your thumb and index finger together at first, which means that line right there should be a line. If you don't have your thumb against your index finger, there's not a line there. But push that thumb against that index finger, there's a line. That line, or V, right there, as you've probably heard it called before, should point at your collarbone or shoulder.
Which collarbone? Which shoulder?
Your trail one, your right one if you're right-handed.
Okay.
So that V points towards your right shoulder. You should have that thumb, like I said, up against here, because when we put our right hand on here, we don't want our right hand to be off the club because our thumb's against it. Does that make sense? So if we're not pushed up against that index finger, we can't get our right hand on there. So make sure that V is formed. Right hand goes on there just like you're shaking hands with it right there. And your left thumb fits on the lifeline of your right hand right there. Because this should still be together, thumb and index finger, you should have a V there again that points to the same place as the left hand V does.
Good.
All make sense?
I think so.
Good. There are, of course, interlocking grips, which is this. There are overlapping grips, which is this. There are grips we're not going to do, which is this. The main two grips are interlocking and overlap. The general rule is interlock if you have smaller hands, overlap if you have larger hands. It's not always true. It's kind of a feel thing in what you've grown up with. I just grew up interlocking, so that's what I do. It is a preference thing. There's not really much benefit one way or the other.
Okay. Good. One thing that is important is, if we don't have a proper grip at setup, if your hands are not interlocked the right way, here's something that happens to the brain, is the brain starts to interpret two hands doing individual tasks.
Yep.
When you have a proper grip and your hands are interlocked, I'm not necessarily saying fingers are interlocked, but your hands are tied together efficiently, appropriately, then your brain perceives them as one unit doing one task versus two units doing two tasks.
Exactly. And you do not want your hands working independently of each other in the golf swing.
Good?
Good? Yeah!